Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Rich Eisen Show here on Zoom as we are out of the office for the week, potentially to return next week. We'll keep an eye on everything that's going on here amongst all of us. Chris Brockman returning. Everybody healthy in your house, Christopher? Everything good?
Everybody healthy. Everybody good. The dog is good. So we're rocking and rolling over here. We're watching Tiger King like everyone else. Have you seen this show yet?
No. What is this about?
Oh my gosh, dude. So it's about a bunch of people. There's like three people kind of focused in this documentary. It's a 7-part documentary on Netflix that focuses on people who own big cats, tigers, lions, panthers, and you just basically have to watch it to kind of understand what's going on. The main character is this guy, Joe Exotic. And
I've heard of him because
yes.
That's what, as you know, Joey Molinaro did yesterday at one point as he and Caliendo are riffing like crazy. So
yes. So it is. It's basically like if Florida man owned a bunch of tigers, and that's really all I need to say.
Well, look, I'm behind the curve, if you will, a little bit on binging because within 11, 9, and 6 here, and again, they're out of school. Like this is part of their spring break. Like literally, the reason why we're Zooming this week is I took the week off that we were planning because I was supposed to be on vacation with the family this week. So with 11, 9, and 6, trying to figure out what to do. And anybody out there that is taking in this show as a diversion, a distraction, or anything that has small children in the house, you know that I have less hair on my head now than the day before and the day before that, even though this is the longest I've gone without a haircut in a very, very long time. But all that said, we all know that what's going on in the real world is as you hear what's going on in my world outside right now with the dogs being picked up for a second by a friend. Long story short, we're here for a diversion. And that's why, again, yesterday with Joey Molinaro and Frank Caliendo, those numbers, we appreciate everybody taking in this show, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're putting it out through all social medias, YouTube. And that was just hilarious. Did you see how Caliendo retweeted one of the videos today, Chris? Did you see?
Yeah. He said that you and I did a phenomenal job carrying that segment.
Yeah. No, because we were on the left side of the screen just laughing and saying nothing, and the two of them were on the right side of the screen.
I know. At one point, someone responded like, man, Brockman really contributed a lot. And I'm like, look, man, I was laughing too hard to say anything.
Well, that's part of it. That's why I wanted to have you zoom in. Like, you were like the audience, like I kind of wanted you to represent everybody just sitting back and laughing. And I kind of did that too. And Stephen A. Smith not only retweeted, but repurposed on his Instagram feed the Stephen A. Smurf moment of that.
And that just came out of nowhere. Like Frank literally turned around, grabbed this 3-foot Smurf, and then was like, I have this Stephen A. Smurf here. It's Smurf. I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
I know. That was totally insane. So at any rate, that was a fun conversation yesterday. The news, if you will, just before we started Zooming with one another here, Chris, is that Bill Belichick was nominated for Outstanding Studio Analyst Personality for the Sports Emmy Awards in 2019. Thus,
what?
Yes, Bill Belichick, Mr. Yes,
on to Cincinnati,
on to Cincinnati, Mr. One-Word Answer, Mr. Just mumbling to the press. Our guy, Bill Belichick, was nominated for a television sports Emmy for his work on the NFL 100 All-Time Team Show. And now I knew that they put his tape up for view. I was not allowed to essentially say that because this needed to be kind of under the radar because that's just the way things that I think the way that Bill wants it. But I can tell you, it was placed before him. Would you be fine if we put this tape in for you?
So Bill had final say on if he got actually nominated?
Does this surprise you?
Well, no, but I mean, everyone saw what he did on that show and how tremendous he was.
Well, they weren't just going to make a reel for him. I have no idea if he personally edited the reel or looked at it. That I have no idea, but it was definitely NFL Films did ask him, is it cool if we do it? It wasn't his idea. NFL Films, as you know, has sports Emmys everywhere. As a matter of fact, if you just go in the Jones Mahal, the Sable Mahal, Jones Mahal is Dallas Cowboys facility. The Steve Sable Mahal, this beautiful facility that they built in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, there's Emmys everywhere. As a matter of fact, there was a moment that Belichick and I shared. I may have told this story on the air before, but there was a makeshift photography studio that they put together for publicity headshots for me and Bill and also Collinsworth and everybody else that came through. And what that was basically this kind of Sears, if you will, photograph background. Backdrop that they hung from a wall in a small kitchenette off to the side of a dining area. And it was the size of a large closet. And, so we're standing there taking pictures, and behind the photographer is a sink and cabinetry where I guess they keep the forks and knives and plates. I have no idea. And Belichick and I are standing there taking a 2-shot photograph of just me and the modern day Lombardi saying cheese. And Belichick points to the top of the cabinets, literally all the way on top of the cabinets where people might keep, like sugar in your household. And on top of the cabinets were 2 Emmy Awards just standing up there.
Just randomly in the kitchen.
Up there. And Belichick.
Like they had no other place to put them.
Belichick nudges me with an elbow. He points to them and he goes, "Look at that right there. You know what? That's just, I guess they don't have enough places to keep their sports Emmys,
Oh my gosh.
So truly amazing. All right, let me pause this for a second because somebody's coming in. So the whole experience with Bill was amazing, as you know, and he is deserving of this nomination. I mean, I have
for sure
many analysts in my day, and I understand that this may be shocking, or maybe people think it's just a kind of, and this may be why he didn't want it to be known. I have no idea that he was put in for it. That is not a novelty. This is really somebody whose work that was well executed and well prepared and added to a broadcast and lifted the broadcast as a whole. This is what analysts are asked to do, tasked to do. And this is what analysts who are nominated are lauded for. And I've told you the many stories about how Bill would just off the cuff tell remarkable memory stories and also add perspective to conversations and have some fun, which he did with Mean Joe Green when Joe Green came out. And I was prepared to ask him about, the Steel Curtain defense or Chuck Noll or anything of that nature. And Belichick jumps in and says, "Can I ask a question?" And I'm sitting there as the host, like, "Floor is yours, Bill." And the first question he asked him about was his Coke commercial from the 70s about flipping the towel to the kid or flipping his jersey to the kid. "Hey, kid, catch." And I'm like, did Belichick just go pop culture with the first question to Joe Green? Like, did that actually just happen? And that loosened up the segment, which is, again, what an analyst is occasionally asked to do or does when he or she is comfortable in the moment. And he was dynamite just in terms of being able to talk about players in the current day to players that he was the defensive coordinator against in the 80s and the 90s for Parcells, or in the early 80s when he was a position coach for Parcells, or in the 70s when he was with Ted Marchibroda, and in the 60s and 70s with his dad being exposed to somebody like Roger Staubach, or when he was in the Baltimore Colts, Johnny Unitas football camp, as he made a mention about not catching passes from Johnny, but because he was his team's center, he snapped the ball to Johnny Unitas. I mean, and then, so we're talking 50s all the way to the current day that he as an analyst is able to cover expertly as a fan, as a kid fan, as an adolescent fan, as a college kid, exposed through his dad, the coach in the Mid-Atlantic at Navy, and then also what he did in the NFL. But the 30s and 40s players that made this team, that were put into the show, into the piece, because through his telestrating, because we put him on the Bellustrator, so he was able with his coach's clicker to go through the grainy footage of these players. Those were the ones that we had a big blind spot on in terms of how do we highlight these guys. And certainly we knew it would be controversial that these guys made it over more contemporary players, and that did turn out to be the case. He came so prepared at one point, Chris, I haven't told this story yet. At one point, it was the only point in the recording of this program where he stopped down, to use the phrase, in the television phrase. When you stop down is when you're taping something and somebody says, let's stop. Hold on a second. There was a screw up, or somebody, walked in the background of the frame, or there was something wrong, mechanically with a camera or anything. Focus. Let's stop down. There was only one time that Bill stopped himself down, and that was because he didn't get a fact straight, or there was a sentence that he didn't say the way that he wanted to say it. And I thought to myself, because he's been speaking off the top of his head this entire time. He then picked up notes that he had printed out, stapled at the top, pages and pages of notes of all of these players that he was going through the Bellustrator with.
Wow.
And he had them this entire time. This was like the middle of the shoot. We had been around each other for almost a full day. And I had no idea that he was using in his lap or right in front of him these notes. He had prepared the entire thing, and on occasion would talk off the top of his head, but then refer to these notes in a way that I didn't even notice he was doing. And I've been in this business for like 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Wow.
We were like looking at each other like, has he had notes the whole time? Is that what it is? And then it's just like he prepared for these guys that we had no idea about because they've been gone for so long, and he knew all about them. He deserves the nomination, and it's not a novelty. That's a fact.
Well, two things. First off, you know that he's going to win, right? With all due respect to Charles Barkley and Al Leiter and Kenny Smith, Michael Strahan and Jay Billis, Bill Belichick is going to win. So do you think that he is going to thank you in his acceptance speech?
I don't. First of all, here's two things: is the Emmy Award ceremony has been, I believe, either postponed or canceled. I don't know what the proper word is for it.
Oh yeah, you're probably right.
But when the announcements are made, I proffer to say that each winner will be asked, I'm sure, by the Emmy committee to record a thank you speech or whatever.
Right.
So
okay, so how about this?
Well, he's been very generous. He's been very generous, as you know, when he talks about this experience. Yeah. He does mention pretty much everybody who's involved in the broadcast.
Yeah. Okay. So he has 8 rings as his boat in Nantucket. Do you think the boat gets changed to 1 Emmy?
Or 8 rings, 1 Emmy.
Yeah. Or just like an addition. He just adds like the plus Emmy at the end.
Right. Or like all wheels, no brakes. Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
8 rings, 1 Emmy. We'll see.
He gets T-shirts made and a hat.
Get the paint job ready. All right, so there's a couple things that are on our docket today. I know, again, that the commissioner of baseball spoke to Scott Van Pelt, who was nominated for Best Studio Host, and congrats to him on that. It's a well-deserved nomination for him. I do want to hit on some of those subjects. After our first interview, which is with Trent Dilfer, we got our buddy Dilfer chiming in here. And I think during the middle of our Zoom of this open, he might have chimed in a little too soon. But he's going to be calling in. I got lots to talk about with him. That was his voice on the Tua workout video that Tua put on his Twitter feed this week, right?
Yes, I believe 100% Trent Dilfer working out Tua this week.
Okay, so I want to ask him about that and everything else with the football world, and then you'll rejoin with a little conversation about baseball, and then the Del Tufo finish, as always.
I mean, the
That's how
Del
we're rolling
Tufo
here on
finish
this.
has been a monster hit on Twitter this week.
It has been.
I'm
It's
so
great.
excited.
Mikey,
It's been great.
Everyone loves Del Tufo. We need a little bit more Del Tufo in our lives. So we'll be right back right here with you. But right now, let's get to our buddy Trent Dilfer. And as promised, joining me right now here on Zoom on the Rich Eisen Show is a longtime friend of mine. Love this man. Love working with him. And I'm not just saying that because he's another handsome bald man with a mustache and a beard. He is a Super Bowl champion quarterback and a longtime friend, as I mentioned, Trent Dilfer. How are you, Trent?
I'm doing good. I'm doing as well as I can be doing, Rich.
Okay, I know.
Hurt for the people struggling right now.
I know. Me too. Did you see Breeze gave $5 million in food relief, and he and Brittany gave $5 million in the state of Louisiana? I mean,
sounds like something he would do.
Right? Don't you think? I mean, so obviously, again, knock on wood, hopefully everybody in your world is happy and healthy. All that said, did I hear your voice on a workout video with Tua?
Yeah.
This week? Was that your voice?
Yeah, you did. Yeah. So, Tua asked me after he had declared for the draft if I'd handle his pre-draft preparation.
Okay.
Unique circumstance, obviously, with him coming off the multiple ankle injuries and the hip injury. So we knew it was going to be kind of a slow grind. As much of it's been mentoring as it has been coaching, but now that he's fully cleared medically, we're getting after it in terms of his preparation for OTAs. And we go all the way back to Elite 11, so I think there's a trust there. And I've never really been in this space. I purposely stayed out of this space, this pre-draft training space, because so many of the guys that I've mentored, the coaches around the country, this is their business. I didn't want to ever steal business from them, but I have a unique relationship with Tua, and because of that, I think he trusted me to guide him through this process.
Okay. Before we just dive in a little bit further into that unique relationship, I know you've mentioned it to me on my show before and how you feel about him and how long you've known him. How does he look to you right now? He looked pretty damn good to me in that video.
Fantastic. And we've taken other videos since. We have a live throwing session day with receivers when I get off this call. What his agent said is not far from the truth. If you just woke up from a coma for a year and didn't know anything that happened, you wouldn't think anything has changed. He looks as good, if not better, than he did pre-injuries. Now, to his credit, he has worked. I don't even have the words to explain the lonely work he's done to come back from this. I saw Matt Hasselbeck did something the other day on NFL Live where he talked about one of the keys to being a great quarterback is how you attack rehab and how you track the training room, because you're always beat up to a certain degree, and then many times you're coming off of a catastrophic injury. Right. Drew Brees attacking the labrum tear, greatest example. Drew Brees is able to become a Hall of Famer after a catastrophic shoulder surgery because he attacked his rehab as a total pro, and Tua has done the same thing with his injuries. There were 6 weeks where it was 2.5 hours a day, twice a day, lonely, boring rehab type stuff. He couldn't throw for a long time. Soft toss was all he could do. You can imagine being a kid that loves throwing a football, and now all you can do is sit on a chair and throw. Right. Countless hours with me and Ken Wisenhunt in my office going over football stuff, completely changing how he ate, using nutrition as a way of healing his body. And now, just this week, being able to come out and say, okay, what am I? And what he is pretty phenomenal.
Well, I mean, and again, I don't know if you chose that specific snippet to make a point about his lower body movement and his foot movement. Did you? Because it sure looked like that was a specific snippet that you chose to prove.
Yeah, he chose it. First of all, this is a weird space, Rich, and this has nothing to do with me. That's why I didn't release the video. Tua released the video. He asked me to retweet it, asked me to share it. Obviously, I knew being in the media for 10 years that it was going to get picked up by you all, which it should have been. There's other stuff that we'll release here in the next few days that will show that he's fully back. And if he's not just fully, but he's even better than he was before, because he's got different foundational. He's built on his foundation different. He's stronger. His core is much stronger. He's more functional with his movements. The biggest thing we've tried to do is make him more rotary based instead of spread out. Some of the injuries came because he got spread out. He got long. He got off balance is an easy way to say it. Keeping him tighter, more compact, more rotary driven. Luke Richardson, who led his rehab/training, was with the Houston Texans forever, won a Super Bowl with the Broncos. He's my strength coach here at Lipscomb. He guided him through those first 6 weeks, and I really made some major changes with him. So I say all that because now when I ask him to do a footwork drill, and I try to do drills that are that translate into a real football situation, not just jumping over stuff and brooms and all that. You can see the twitch and the power. You can see him having control of his whole body. You can see him moving his center mass and not just reaching for things. You can see him maintaining his balance through different platforms. All this stuff is very applicable to keeping him healthy as he plays. Everything I've tried to do and all the things I've tried to communicate with him is we're not trying to build you for a fancy pro day or where you go in the draft. I'm trying to build you for a 15-year Hall of Fame career. I think this kid is that special. So everything we're doing is I'm learning from the great players I've studied. Obviously, I was not one of them, but I'm studying from the greatest of all time, their habits, what they do, their movement strategies, and trying to incorporate those into his training.
So it sure looks like the draft's going to go off as scheduled, Trent. It looks like it's going to be the 23rd through the 25th. I know that there is some competition committee conversations about whether that's right or wrong, because some teams are in their facilities using the big board and being able to gather. Other teams are in cities and sheltered in place and they're not allowed in their facilities. So what does the next 3 weeks look like for Tua in terms of getting on the horn with people, or what he needs to do to potentially make sure he's drafted as high as possible, best that you can share?
You know, what I'm trying to, my advice to him, I can only share what my advice to him has been, is to be yourself. Tua is a unique kid in a good way. He's got that really super cool Polynesian vibe, but he's got that fierceness, competitive, like assassin quality to him too. Right. And to overcoach him in this process would be a massive mistake. To give him talking points, to try to make him somebody he's not. As he engages with these teams, from day one, I told him and his family, I only want them to see the Tua that I know. Maybe a more refined version, maybe one that obviously is now moving into the professional realm and not the collegiate realm. So there's refinement to your personality, your thought process, but be Tua. Because when Tua walks into a room, the room's better. If he's on a Zoom call, I'm pretty sure call the teams that have talked to him, they're going to say the same thing. It jumps through the screen. We did a little quarterback Olympics yesterday, just me and him, because it was kind of his day off. And we just did like throwing drills from our knees and targets and, set up things around the indoor. And I had him beat twice, and he came back in the last seconds and beat me. And, he suddenly talks a little smack. He's really good at talking a little smack. I'm devastated. I'm laying on the floor, whining and screaming because I thought I had Tua beat. And he's needling me a little bit. My point being is that I just told him, you be you. And then let the agent, Chris Cabot, who's fantastic at what he does, he can guide you through the processes of how this works in a new world. But I think the more people get to know Tua, I know the media is going to love him.
I already do, man. And trust me, Georgia knows the feeling about thinking that Tua has been beat, and then he comes out at the last second and makes the throw. So the question I have, though, is the physical part of it. Like, are you sending these videos to teams, or have teams asked for your particular insight too?
Yeah, we're compiling a bunch of video. The agent's handling that. But I'm purposely building the drill sets, building the workouts to show what I know that the real evaluators want to know. I'm not building it for the media. If I was building it for the media, I would know how to do that. Right. I'm building it to see, what do the Dolphins want to see? What do the Raiders want to see? What do the Colts want to see? What do the Bengals want to see? They want to see dynamic movement. They want to see the combination of twitch and power. They want to see sustainability within a workout, because fatigue and recovery is a big part of this. Today we're going to do about a 70 throw script. So he's going to drop and throw 70 times today to live receivers. I'm going to know a lot tomorrow morning when I'm with him. Where are you sore? How's your arm feel? How your ribs feel? How's your back feel? How's your hip feel? How's your ankles feel? To this point, he's been 100% after every workout. Amazing. But increasing that workload on him, well, now here's my ultimate goal. We want to hand him to a team ready to dominate an OTA, ready to go be an NFL dominant football player. So everything I'm doing isn't for a performance standpoint. I don't care if he goes 70 of 72 today. I care that he builds up a work capacity. He starts to better understand some refined mechanics. Again, we're talking 1-2%. We're not talking 10-15% mechanical change. So that when he goes to an OTA and they ask him to learn this big playbook, execute a 7-on-7 script, that as he is making adjustments, he can self-evaluate and he can self-correct. Because that's the biggest thing I've seen in this space. If you can't teach a player to self-correct in the midst of a practice, the NFL doesn't have a quarterback coach that's sitting there filming every rep going, oh, look, your front foot was too far. You didn't stay closed long enough. Your head's in the wrong position, yada, yada, yada. It is XO, 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 XO. So teaching him so he can self-correct if anything starts going haywire, or if things start getting a little sore here or there, he knows what's causing that. The best thing we can do is hand him over to whatever NFL team drafts him, and that team go, thank you. Thanks for letting us do the rest. Thanks for letting us build what we want to build, but you gave us a product that was healthy, that was fresh, that mind was clear, was excited about learning, excited about working, excited about meeting a whole new tribe, meaning your organization, excited about going into the community and reaching out. Not one that's broken down through the pre-draft process and weighed down and burdened and tired and exhausted and starved to death. We want one that's fired up and ready to go kick the NFL's butt.
All right. Well, one last question on him before I do want to pick your brain about all the free agent movement in the quarterback world in the NFL. Is the floor is yours. And when you met Tua and when you realized that he was a unicorn, as a phrase that you
Well, my favorite story about him is it was one of those, Nike opening regionals in May in Oakland, California. And I had heard a lot about him. I'd watched all his tape, and you could see the talent, but he was a very undisciplined player at the time. And these regionals are not just like underwear Olympics throwing cats. We put them through some pretty strenuous stuff to kind of see what their capacity is, see what their work ethic's like, and see if they're coachable. And at the end of the camp, and this made the documentary, I actually called him out and I said, Tua, you're really talented, but everybody's enamored with your talent. All I see is the lack of discipline. And I said, in a month from now, when you come back to the finals, because he got an invite to the finals based on his talent, really. I mean, he's incredibly talented. I said, you will not thrive unless you fix this stuff. Well, at the time, him and his family was pretty offended, right? You can imagine being a 17-year-old kid being told you're not as great as everybody's saying that you are. Mm-hmm. But instead of complaining about it, they did something about it. And there's video, and this video lives somewhere, of him in a park in Hawaii with his dad every afternoon going over like these 5 to 7 base, old school Bill Walsh, Mike Holmgren, Mike McCarthy quarterback school drills that I had adopted over time because I had been in the West Coast. And I just think they're really good fundamental training drills. He's in this park in Hawaii with orange cones set out with his dad doing these for a month straight. So he comes to us in LA for the finals, where Redondo Union, and the first drill he does better than I've ever seen anybody do. And then as the day goes on, I'm talking to some of my coaches, Jordan Palmer, Quincy Avery, and these guys. I'm like, that's a totally different kid. And everybody was like, yeah, he's totally different. I mean, he went from being undisciplined to perfectly disciplined. And he knew more than anybody else in the whole camp. There was no doubt day one he was the best player there, and he proved it as we went on the rest of the summer and the finals, the opening finals and everything. But the point of the story is that when Tua sees something that he's not doing best, he attacks it so he can go do it best. And yeah, he may have this great smile, and yeah, he may be friends to everybody, but deep down, he's an assassin. And he wakes up every morning and he says, how do I become the best at the next thing? And this was at 17, and you saw him do it his whole time at Alabama, and now you're seeing him do it here getting ready for the NFL.
It's amazing. All right, let's get into some here and now. What do you think, Trent Dilfer, of Brady and Arians hooking up? How's that going to work? How successful do you think that's going to be? Tom Brady in Tampa.
I'm a buyer. I'm still devastated. I'm like one of those Patriots fans. It's like I don't know what the NFL is going to look like with Tom not playing for the Patriots. So I still haven't fully gotten over that. But to forecast it there in Tampa, finally somebody's going to wear number 12 the right way in Tampa. That's a joke, Rich. You can laugh. I wear number 12.
I have not actually put 2 and 2 together on that.
I actually texted him the night he signed, and I was like, now about time 12 gets worn properly. Don't embarrass the number, Tommy.
What did he say?
He just laughed. He just laughed. This conversation about the system and him not fitting. Okay, is that what you're getting at? Because there's been a lot of narrative around that, right? Bruce Arians' system is very diverse. Now, he's a hyper-aggressive play caller. There's a difference between system and play caller, right? And I'm sure Kurt's probably told the NFL Network audience about this, but the system, Tom won't learn any new plays. There's no play Tom doesn't know. It's going to be the progression behind the teaching. So the simplest way to look at it is a lot of what the Patriots did for a long time was low to high. So they read a lot of their stuff low to high. Bruce is a big high to low guy. Every time he calls a play, he's trying to knife the defense. So I think Tom's going to like that. That's going to be refreshing. It's not like his arm can't do it. Tom's arm is still super light. I think you're going to see more chunk plays out of Tom Brady, more of a vertical aspect to his passing game. I think his skill set, because his downfield accuracy is elite, obviously, I think that's going to be showcased a little bit more. My only concern, and I think a great guy to call on this would be Carson Palmer. I think he can speak into this far better than I could, is a lot of these concepts are extended drops. They're going to take a little bit longer. Instead of getting the ball in 2.17 seconds, which I think is what Tom's average is, I'd have to check PFF, he's going to be more like 2.75. And that doesn't sound like a massive difference, but those big old bodies that are moving really fast with a lot of force, that just gives them a couple ticks longer to get closer to them. I also would like to see by week 12, how many times has he been hit in this offense relative to how many times he was hit in the Patriots offense. Those are just little things I'm going to look at, but I think they'll be wildly successful because the skill set players they have there. Bruce is a genius calling plays. So I overall, along with Dilfer winded answer, saying I like the fit.
Well, it's a great answer. So Brady in Tampa, Phillip in Indy, Bridgewater in Carolina. Those are, I guess, the big moves quarterbacks wise. Breeze is obviously staying put. Which new quarterback in a new spot do you think is the best fit, that has the most upside for success that I've just mentioned right there?
I'm really, I don't know if it's best. I'm most curious outside the Brady. Obviously, everybody in the world's been watching the Brady-Tampa dynamic in the same division, the Carolina Bridgewater, Joe Brady, that this whole new mix, what they're doing offensively there. I think that's going to be fascinating to watch. I was very impressed with Teddy when he played last year. I think he's a guy that if you watch Joe Burrow play at LSU and how he played for the most part on rhythm, and then when he had to create extra time and space, he did a good job at that. I think that's who Teddy Bridgewater is. He's a guy that's going to play on schedule, on time most of the time. He's going to dissect the defense pre-snap. He's going to make very decisive reads post-snap. And then when he needs to extend the play a little bit, when he needs to create some time and space, he's a guy that can do it. I've always been bullish on Teddy. So I think it's a good fit. I'm excited to see him get a chance to run the show and be the dude. So that's probably the one I'm most excited to watch outside the Brady-Tampa dynamic.
And what do you think Cam's best fit is? It's just remarkable that he may have to get a backup role and prove it, or would Jacksonville be a spot? And the Chargers are probably knocking on the door for your mentoree that you'll be working out later on today. I mean, what do you think about Cam's situation? Which teams are making a move for him potentially? And then New England, obviously, might need one. I give you.
Yeah, I would. Well, on the New England thing, I really am a Jared Stidham fan too. So I think they've made up their mind. I think they're going to go with Stidham.
Stidham, you think Stidham would be a suitable?
I think Stidham's their guy. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there's one more they bring in because Bill loves competition. He's not just going to hand the keys to the car to a young guy. But I think they really like Stidham, and he did the little that he played. And then you hear from what's going on at practice. They treat practice so seriously. Most of what I heard from New England was that he was really impressing everybody, not just coaches, but players with his leadership, with his juice, with his learning capacity, with his preparation. I saw him a month or so ago, and I said, you know, if you look back and look at the year, how lucky were to be at Tom? Because I can just watch Tom and learn more than anybody can ever teach me. So a year of watching that and really soaking it in, I think he understands the urgency every day of the position. But anyways, that's the New England note. I think if I'm Cam, I'm waiting to see how this draft unfolds because I don't want to be a placeholder for Tua or Herbert, right? Or maybe Love, right? Maybe Love everybody falls in love with Love. And you end up going and you think you're the guy and you think this is your chance. And then all of a sudden you see that, oh no, they just drafted the guy. And I'm the sacrificial lamb to get to that guy. I know that sounds crazy talking about a Cam Newton being a sacrificial lamb, but if you're a GM and you're looking to draft one of those guys, man, I'd love to get Cam at a discount price and hedge my bet. But let's make no mistake about it. 18 months, it doesn't matter how good Cam plays. The guy drafted is going to be playing.
All right, last one for you, Trent. When Nick Foles was acquired by the Bears and put in the same quarterback room as Mitchell Trubisky, I wonder what you think, what this means to – all we're hearing is the phrase this is going to push Mitch. Doesn't this basically lift the kimono up about how Trubisky isn't the number 2 overall quarterback savior that the Bears hoped? I give you the floor on what you thought when you heard about the Foles to Bears trade.
Well, one, I like the trade. I think the Bears had to do something. You can say we love Mitch Trubisky, and in the same breath say, but he needs to be pushed more. He needs competition. He needs there needs to be an edgier room. You know what I mean? Every day needs to matter more, so to speak. And you have a backup plan in Nick Foles, who's proven to be kind of that perfect guy, right? The perfect guy that can come in a backup situation and help you win football games, especially if you're as good as the Bears, I think should be. Kind of like his Eagles experience. Really good team. You don't have to do a ton. The term manage the game obviously comes back to me, which I don't take as a knock. You are managing situations. You're not the reason the team's going to win, but you're never going to be the reason the team loses. I think Nick Foles is the perfect guy for that, and he's a great guy. I think that's the other thing that people miss in this quarterback room dynamic is, and I always go back to my relationship with Matthew Hasselbeck, is he's a great human being. Like, he is as good a human being as you're ever going to meet. So when you're going through hard times in a room, at least you're going through it with somebody that is a lifelong friend. And I think Matthew and I had that relationship that brought the best out of both of us. I think you have the same dynamic that can happen in Chicago is just Nick Foles' presence in that quarterback room is going to help Mitch as he goes through rocky times, even if that means Nick is the one playing at the time. And I know people can't wrap their brain around that, right? Oh, no, it's life or death. No, it's really making sure that room is as strong as it can be. The stronger that room is, the better product on Sunday the quarterback playing will be.
Trent, you're the man. I've been asking all my guests calling in for an office, or I don't know if that's some sort of coach's room or whatever you're in right now. But
yeah, this is my coach's office. I'm the only human being on the institution's grounds.
Okay, that's what I figured. So, been asking what's behind. What's behind? Is there a trophy? What is that photograph of?
You got, this is all of our Lipscomb Academy stuff, and then the Super Bowl trophy is back there that Ray Lewis got for me. I still appreciate him getting it for me. Our helmet, some other stuff. The Steve Largent Award, which is something I'm really proud of, the Man of the Year for the Seattle Seahawks. I only have a few things up in my office here at Lipscomb Academy, and those are them.
So that's the trophy Ray got for you, huh?
Ray got me. Yeah,
like that throw you made to start things off in Tampa, by the way. That had to feel so damn good too.
I simply got out of the way.
I don't know if you saw that Jameis tweeting out a farewell to Tampa, said he'll see him in February. Did you see that?
I saw that. I thought that was pretty interesting. That's one guy we didn't talk about. I personally would take a chance on Jameis. Yes, he's dangerous with the football, and I think that does get you beat. But then he tested severity was too, and then Bill Parcells was able to get that out of him when he went to the Jets. I do think Jameis Winston with the right coach could be that's a steal right there. If you get Jameis, go get Jameis.
Didn't we say that about when Arians joined, right? Like, I mean, didn't you think that the no risk it, no biscuit? I mean, he might have taken a little bit too much of the risk it, but he still threw 5,000 yards worth of biscuits, right? I mean, so who's the right coach in the right situation is the question, right?
If Mike Holmgren was still coaching, I'd say Mike Holmgren. Like, he's the perfect person to take at Jameis, because there's freedom in how Mike lets you play, but there's also, you better do it, Mike. I mean, you better learn it Mike's way. And the discipline of what I gained and what Matthew gained, at least, from where we came from to going, Matthew for obviously longer, but my 4 years with Mike was really learning the risk reward of the position. And then being able to hear stories how Steve Young, Brett Favre, Joe Montana did it. I mean, 3 of the best ever played the position. And then he can kind of create these parallels to where you're at in your career. I can see Mike being a great influence. I can see Sean Payton being a great influence on Jameis Winston, especially with Drew being at the end. I get the Taysom Hill thing. I don't know where that stands. But there's just certain guys that get quarterbacks, and they get their DNA, and they get how to kind of tweak it here or there and get so the ceiling comes out and the floor doesn't as often.
Trent, you're the man. Thanks for sharing. Tell Tua we send our best. I got to meet him for the first time at the Super Bowl. It's exactly as you said. The place, like the wattage on our Super Bowl set went up when he walked on it. There's no question about it. Told a great story about how he ribbed Saban a little bit after he threw that touchdown pass against Georgia, because Saban was still pissed about the sack that he took. So I saw a little bit of that red ass too that you're talking about.
He's going to have a little more today after I beat him in Quarterback Olympics 2.0. There will be. If I ever beat him in anything, that's what I will tweet out or put on Instagram, is me beating Tua in something. I'm 103 years old. If I can beat him, it's on.
I love it. I can't wait to see it. So how can people follow you at Dilfer's Dimes, right, on Twitter?
And then, I just went public on Insta, Trent.Dilfer.
Okay, very good. We'll be following you. Thanks for the call, Trent. You're the man. Right. Best to your family.
Bye-bye.
You bet. Chris Brockman rejoining. Chris, I just had an amazing chat with Dilfer where I got a couple of things out of it. He's essentially working with Tua in a Jordan Palmer type role, in a throwing coach type role. He said at one point that he's tried to stay out of that lane because he doesn't want to take business away from anybody. But as you know, we've had this conversation on the show with him before. He goes way back with Tua to the Elite 11. He's known him for a very long time. Tua asked him, do this for me. And he mentioned at one point, Trent, that he and Ken Wisenhunt, the former Arizona Cardinals head coach and Chargers offensive coordinator, Steelers offensive coordinator, have worked through different variations of plays and playbooks and studying, and that they've remade his base, that the lower part of his body and his base that they've remade. And he said that Tua is even better than he was before. Now,
what does that mean?
No, I know, which would be remarkable if this is borne out by NFL play. But it just struck me. Trent just jumped through the screen in the same way that Tua jumps through the screen, or jumped, the wattage level, as I mentioned, when he stepped on the set at the Super Bowl. For us, I got to tell you, just hearing that and coaches seeing the footage that they're putting more and more out of, and Trent did tell me that the footage that showed up on Tua's feed, Tua chose, but they kind of put out some footage that showed his lower body and his legs and his hips moving in a very healthy manner. They chose that on purpose to put that out there, that more and more teams are going to be talking to him and seeing this stuff. Having heard that from Dilfer, I'm not going to go out and say that the Bengals are going to put Tua atop their board. I'm just right.
Right.
And I'm just going to renew once again to get ready for that conversation, that it's going to be before the draft, 2 weeks before. In the next several weeks, we're going to hear that conversation chirp a little louder. I don't think the Redskins are going to be the spot at 2. I heard what Dilfer had to say. Any Lions fan has got to be doing cartwheels because somebody's going to hop up to 3. The Dolphins need him. The Chargers clearly are making their quarterback play post Brady going to the Buccaneers all about drafting somebody if they're not jumping for Cam or Jameis right now. Clearly, they're going to be in that mix. It's going to be a free-for-all. Who wants Tua? And if I'm the Lions, they're going to make a killing at 3, and still get the player at either 5 or 6 that they want at 3.
Right. It's crazy. And Rich, we're 4 weeks from tonight.
Right.
Is April 23rd is when that name is going to be announced, number 1. And we expect it to be Joe Burrow, but like you said,
I'm telling you, that conversation's about to be had.
I don't know, man.
You're going to hear it. It's going to show up on you. Everybody's going to show up on your phone as a badge, an alert from whatever app of you're following for your sports. It's going to come. I just know it. But Burrow lit up the room too at the combine, and he is dynamic and amazing. But Tua, I think, is going to prove to everybody that his medical is not an issue. And just listening to Dilfer and how excited he is, and that's just normally the way he talks. I just see it coming. The Tua shooting up draft boards even more. But when it all comes down to it, I'd be stunned. And I know it's a month to go, and you can't say this sort of stuff. Stunned if the Lions pick at 3. I'd be stunned that they don't trade out, that somebody's going to jump up and go get Tua as soon as they possibly can. And the Lions will be sitting there at 5 and 6 and get whoever they want and have a whole host of draft choices because their phone is going to be ringing off the hook about this kid. I mean,
as we talked about with the trade of Darius Slay, they already have 5 or 6 in the top 85. And with this spot at number 3 being open for business now, they're going to add even more to that.
Oh, I think so. And then it's one of the deepest drafts in memory. So, all right, that was the conversation we just had with Trent.
Love it. Awesome.
Now let's get to what the commissioner of baseball told our boy, the magical Van Peasy on ESPN.
Yes. We were talking about yesterday. Scott Boras made some news where he thinks that Major League Baseball still could have a 162 game schedule with the World Series taking place around Christmas, postseason in December at venues in Southern California. So Rod Manfred was with Scott Van Pelt last night and said that baseball will be back and will be part of this country's recovery, adding that nothing is off the table as the sport outlines its plan to return from this postponement, saying, quote, "The one thing I know for sure is baseball will be back. Whenever it's safe to play, we'll be back. Our fans will be back, and our players will be back." He's optimistic that at some point in May that they're going to gear back up. But again, he doesn't know that for certain. And the goal is to get as many regular season games as possible. And they're trying to figure out how to do that.
I just don't see how it's possible right now. But I love hearing that. Any light at the end of the tunnel, I'm going to take. At some point, the Red Sox punishment's going to be coming out too. So I don't know when baseball is going to be making that announcement. They said that they would make it before opening day, which would have been coming up.
Today was opening day. Yeah.
I really wish that would have been the case, that baseball could have opened today. Clearly not. I'd sign for July 1st right now because that would obviously mean so much for so many people in this country. But I just don't know if they do it with players in front of no fans. But like I said, any light at the end of the tunnel is something I would take.
Yeah. He kind of shot down Scott Boras's idea, saying we're probably not going to be able to do a full 162 game season. But he did, like he said, nothing is off the table in terms of how creative they're going to get to save as many games as possible.
Well, I hope that's the case. Now, you ready to get Del Tufo in here?
Of course, my favorite part of the day.
All right, Mike Del Tufo joins us, and then look who's a special guest that we have right here.
Hi, guys.
Hi, what's happening, Suze?
Hey, Susie.
I'm hiding from the kids.
You're quarantining yourself from the kids.
I can't take another minute of being with them. Not another minute.
I mean, just the last 2 days, we had sound upstairs in your house and sound at the other room in your house. It's like, man, what's going on over there?
I just almost threw Xander in the pool out of sheer annoyance.
So we're in the warm embrace of this room right here.
Love it.
What do you got today, Mike?
You want some show and tell?
By the way, show some of the stuff that you have that Susie didn't see the last couple of days. Show that off.
Hold on, the microphone's back. This Tonight Show thing. I actually was looking at this thing.
Mike,
this meter thing. Go ahead.
Susie wants to know, and this is a good question too. Put the meter down for a second.
Yep. Put the meter down. Got it.
Put the meter down.
Put the meter down.
Now, we didn't hit this the other day. We learned this about you, that you're obsessed with Olaf.
Oh, I love Olaf. Like, literally love Olaf.
That's weird.
It's not. I like Olaf. Olaf is it's like my little alter ego. I love Olaf. He likes warm hugs. He's sort of like me. He likes warm hugs. Olaf's my friend.
That's not alter ego. That means he's your ego. What that means.
He's my ego.
So you got, what is that? Is that a piggy bank behind you? Is that
No, piggy bank. Where? Here?
Yeah. What is that? Just a stuffed animal?
That's the Olaf stuffed animal. Olaf coffee mug. I have a full size Olaf that's in New Jersey that I didn't bring with me that I got for Christmas that I have to get, like a stuffed. It was like an expensive. Like they all chipped in for it.
Is it like Stephen A. Olaf?
Yes. Then I have my Bill Raftery onions thing in the back. You see that, like the bobblehead? Couple Emmys. Got nominated for another one this morning.
Congratulations, sir.
For the World Cup, man. That's cool. Should have two of them because I didn't do Super Bowl. But yeah, so today I brought – you want to see the show and tell I got?
Sure.
This is actually pretty cool. This is a Giant Stadium, Montana, that my friend took the picture, and then I got signed. So legitimately – and Montana was there when I signed it. So there's no certificate of authenticity needed for this one. But my coolest piece, which is awesome, that I've shown, I think, Brockman, you may have seen this, is my quarterback lithograph.
Oh, my gosh.
It's signed by Greasy, Aikman, Marino, Young, Staubach, Namath, Montana, Bradshaw, and, of course, the only person that should not have been on here, and because it was done the year before the guy started, Bledsoe. If they had Brady on here, this thing would be...
Bledsoe's on there?
Yes. Bledsoe is in the corner.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
And
wow.
I've always said this, and I actually, when I got this, Bradshaw, I brought it into NFL and Fox and had Bradshaw, because I got it from a guy that I trusted. And he was like, I went, Bradshaw, did you sign this? He's like, oh, I was there. And he goes, just so you know, the day that I did it, Montana, he was like 5 of them were actually at the event where they all signed him. There's 500.
Not a Fugazi situation then.
No, and it's signed by the artist. It was 462 out of 500 of them. So that's my prized, like, wall possession.
For you. Oh, by the way, one thing that Dilfer mentioned during the interview that I drew a blank is that he said that he told Tom Brady that, that at least finally somebody's going to wear 12, do 12 right for the
oh, my God.
Wait, Dilfer wore 12? That's right. Oh, my gosh.
Brady saying that, somebody's going to finally do number 12 very well.
Someone said that the Bucs were already selling number 12 jerseys, so they must just assume that Chris Godwin's giving it up.
Oh, he's going to give it up.
Oh.
Let me tell you something right now. That's done. That's not even a question.
Jeremy Elden. Are you kidding? He's begging to give up that 12.
I'm sure he's going to get a nice chunk of change for it.
I believe it.
I don't have.
Show and tell?
Yeah,
Rich,
I mean, you have a lot of books.
Susie made you get rid of most of your show and tell, right, Susie? Come on.
You want to go get Miami so you can show it off?
Go for it. Yeah, go.
It's all right. Don't worry about it.
I have 2 good things for tomorrow that Brockman will like. I got 2 really cool things. I'm saving them for Friday.
This, Mikey, you'll like this.
Oh yeah. That's it.
I worked out with Bruce Springsteen at the World Gym at 11:30 at night.
Oh God.
Manhattan.
Wow.
So,
I like that. We could trade. I like that. That's cool.
wasn't it like 65th and Broadway? And I was working out, and this guy's like, "Can I work in with you?" And I look over, and I'm like, he looked kind of homeless, and he stunk, and I'm like, "Oh my God." And so I worked out with him. It was amazing, like an hour. And I said to him, "I live 2 blocks from here. Can I just please go get my Born to Run disc cover?" And he's like, "Sure." We had a smoothie. We shared a smoothie.
Nice.
And literally, I ran home, and he waited for me. And it says,
oh, that's awesome. That's my home.
he wrote, "To Susie, we meet again, Bruce Springsteen."
We meet again.
Wow.
That's cool. You see, those are the things that are cool. That was my first time I saw them as a little kid at Seton Hall on that tour with my sister Lucille, who worked for the yearbook. And I didn't appreciate it. The only song I knew on the album was Born to Run.
Yeah.
And I don't think I knew another Springsteen song at that age. Like, I didn't appreciate what I probably saw because he probably played Rosalie. He probably played all the Innocent. He probably played all those albums that I did not I was in 7th grade, maybe 6th grade, that I didn't appreciate. Oh, I have chills. I just got chills from that. Oof.
When I was like 15 in Fort Lauderdale at a Marriott we used to go to all the time when I used to see my grandparents, and he was at the pool. My brother is a huge Springsteen fan.
He's nonstop.
I mean, like he gets like, he can't talk. He gets emotional. He loves him so much. So I remember he hadn't said a word. So that's why it said we meet again. And I don't think Bruce remembers meeting me.
He's met a few people.
Yeah, exactly. I like that item. I'll trade. I got like 4 things I'll trade right now.
Well,
I'm trying to look around Rich's. Oh, you know what? I'm going to show. Wait. You want a good show and tell for Brockman? Hold on.
last one.
All right. Well,
Mitch, you gave me the cool thing that I have in the hallway.
Oh, this is a good one.
The Rivera used dirt.
Rivera.
Oh, that Rivera.
How about this?
Cooper made it.
What do we got? Oh, is that a Larry Bird doll?
Although it does,
No, it says Eisen on the back. But look,
Oh.
you doll.
it's a Cooper.
But it does look like Larry Bird, kind of.
I know, not bad.
I love it. Oh, man, I can't wait till my boys make it.
Wormhole at this point has created a gravitational force that has pushed my son into the Celtics with my wife. You know, there's no way I'm going to be.
You do realize he's going to take off, Rich. He's done because now he's got the $400 million. He's done. He's out for a couple. You won't hear of him for a little while.
All right.
I have to go back out there.
She doesn't. That's like that. Don't make me go back out there.
Yeah, don't do it. No. All right. Well, good luck to the both of you over there. Yeah, good luck.
Bye, guys.
Godspeed.
And to Crispy Chicken for putting this show together, and Zach Rosenfield, and you guys putting it all together. And you know, we're looking for guests tomorrow. I'm on the trail for a pretty damn good one. So
Okay.
Shows have been great. Check everything out on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. Hit that subscribe button, please. And I hope you all enjoyed this as a nice, fun distraction here on a crazy Thursday in a crazy world that we're living in. So we'll see you on Friday from our Zoom room on the Rich Eisen Show.